Chris was presenting. It is a challenge for all that's coming through. It's the people, it's the size of the projects, and how that's going to impact on it. And when we look at what the industry is at the moment, particularly in the construction space, the issues that actually come with it and the legacies that we've been dragging through around efficiency of how we actually do jobs as well. So getting more people, more engineers, but using it more efficiently as well. So being smarter about how we do jobs is a big thing. And we're at that point. So we've got past a point where we can get away with it. We're at a point now where we need to do things differently and transform how we're doing things as we move through. And before I get onto this one, where GHD Digital comes into this is we recognised as a company that we need to do a change as well. We recognise a change coming through. So we actually separated out GHD Digital. So we've got 400 people. We've grown from 18 months ago we had 10 and we're up to 400 at the moment. So around the globe, feeding into what this is, and largely around digital experience, so the engineering and the cyber security side of things through to our innovation culture and change and how you create, develop that to change your organisation, and then your data intelligence, your analytics, your artificial intelligence, your location intelligence, things like that. So part of that is how do we disrupt ourselves? And the reason for it, you might have seen this before. Construction industry and largely what GHD works in. And at the moment, a third of my business comes from the Defence Department and a lot broader perspective within GHD. So it's based around defence work. But we know within the industry, we're not efficient at what we're doing. We've actually been going backwards over time. So when we look at the cost of what these projects are and the dollar amounts that Chris was talking about, I sort of talked from the estate and infrastructure group, so Deputy Secretary a couple of weeks ago. So for the next 10 years, the average expenditure over the next 10 years per year is $3.5 billion. So between $3 to $3.5 billion per year. So we're going on a massive expenditure. And that's consistent across not just the defence space. We're competing against, there's $70 billion in Victoria being programmed to be spent on infrastructure. So we've got all the states doing their infrastructure bills as well. So we've got the mining industry kicking off again. It is a competitive space. So how do we make use of the resources that we have, the ones coming through, and be smarter about it, which will be a change in skill set as well. It won't just be engineers, there'll be a whole different breed of people coming through. Another justification for it as well, so we're good at overrunning both time and cost on projects. So if you want to look at where it all sits, we on average go over, so if you look at the bottom line there, so some of the projects, so that top right hand corner is between 2 to 9 years over, so and well over, getting into that 100 to 600% overrun. So there's a fair few sitting up in that box. If you look at the infrastructure within that, so there's a couple down in the bottom left-hand corner, but the generalists matter in the top right and the bottom right-hand box in relation to it. So that if we don't understand where the imperative for change is coming and why we need to disrupt ourselves within the industry, so these figures is what is actually driving that conversation. Okay, so what we're looking at, so digital engineering perspective, so GHD's got a very long history in relation to the engineering side, so engineering science. What we're trying to do is actually look at how we do it, how we present the information to the right people at the right time, and it's not just a report sitting on the shelf gathering data, a set of drawings sitting in a drawing cabinet. So we want to see how we actually improve it, how we make it accessible, how we use the new technology coming through to actually drive a change within what we're doing, and start impacting on those overruns and the efficiencies within what we're doing, and very much looking across the asset life cycle. So from the design, the construct, operate and maintain, and depending on what we're doing, so decommissioning as well. And to do that, we need to change how we think and what we apply to it. There is a benefit. And one of the challenges at the moment, because we haven't actually done all of this stuff, we haven't documented what the benefits are around this. So we are taking a step into the future in relation to this. Not everything has been done. So how do you show someone a benefit when it hasn't been done? And that's collectively, as an industry group, the SMEs, defence, everyone needs to start having a look at how we track that, what we're doing, where the lessons learned are, but also where the benefits coming out of the new technology and the approaches are actually coming. Getting a point where you've got a single truth. Having it so it's accessible to all, so it's a cloud base, whether it's an Azure or Amazon or a private service system in relation to it. So having that so that you have all the information in one spot, it is the point of truth in relation to it, but everything reports back into that and updates it, which may not be a single database. It might be integrated into, say, your ERP system, your GIS systems. So with your design models, with your whatever else is out there. There's a number of systems. Linking the project, so it's not just your 3D models, it's 2D information as well, but it's linked to the part of the model which is actually relevant to people as well. So when they go and they need to find it, it's like, okay, here's the pump information, here's the pump data, click on it, and everything you need in relation to that comes up. So the maintainer's got it right at his fingertips when he needs it. And then the other side of it is, how do we actually better construct? So how do we actually do the constructability reviews? So building into the schedule and linking that into the design, all the different elements. So you've got the constructability, so you can do an animation of the construction, and you can actually test what it is. You can schedule out, you actually optimise it before a solid bird's even turned. Because we need to have a look at this. Reductions in RFIs. So RFI is an amazing way of 1,000 cuts, taking out projects at a time on projects. Triaging and getting that direct access to the engineer so they can see it on site using things like RealWare headsets. So the engineer can be anywhere in the world and he can have a look at what the construction issue on site, and he can actually respond pretty much straight away and say, no, it's not an issue, do this, or it automatically record it back to the cloud with the conversation and the video footage. Or he says, no, tool's down, you got to stop. And you're stopping for a proper reason. Safety. 65% of safety injuries in a workplace generally relate to RFIs. So there's a direct link between those two. And reducing reworking. So simple things. So no point doing something twice when you don't have to. Wider uses in relation to it, so we've got the stakeholder side, so you've got to keep the community on board, they've got to understand what you're doing, but you've also got the political side, so how do you show them what we're doing and why we're doing it and the likes and justifying it? How do we shift it through to the politicians in the state, as well as your own workers as well? All these things, so the models should be used for training simulations, so it's going to progress through that from design through to you're training people into the construction space, you train people, the commissioners before it's built, so whether it's a boat, or whatever it is, so the people should be able to walk through the facility familiar with it before they even get there. So, and they can do that from wherever, they can do it from their laptop, so mention the integration of data. I can't emphasise that all we're doing within GHD and what we're looking at is the data flow. So yes, it's drawings, yes, it's environmental data, it's context data, it's construction data, it's all data. And we're mapping how that works and how we use it and what's the beneficial data that ties in with our business goals. Modularisation in relation to it, so how do we actually better improve how we do it? So if it's a remote site, build it in a larger community base like Adelaide, and then take it out to the site. So it's reduced labour time on site, so reduce cost in relation to it, faster process. And then providing, using the tools, we've all got a phone, we've all got a tablet, how do we better use these to actually give that information to the right point? Now this one's got a lot on it, it'll be part of the slide pack, so I'm not going to talk through the whole thing, so because that'll bore people to death. Right. But what we are, it is very much, what are the information requirements throughout the life of an asset? Because different people need different things. And within GHD, we know that a lot of our work that we spend up front, and defence and other people are spending on GHD to actually do that design work. By the time we get to the end of construction, that work there is providing no value for the customers. The drawing set's sitting on a shelf somewhere. So what we want to do is actually, there is value to be had out of that over a life of the asset. When you look at a 50-year life, how does that actually provide value? So, and this is basically looking at what's the information flow requirements through the different stages, how it feeds into it, and also the new standards which are coming out in relation to digital engineering, so ISO 19650. Now, before I jump across, into something else, we are using this stuff in relation to it, so we're doing a lot of scan to BIM, so there's a lot of brownfield work. So if we look at that 3 to 3.5 billion a year of the state infrastructure group, that's all bases which are existing at the moment, and you're upgrading facilities on those bases. There's water pipes and sewer pipes and whatever else electrical systems on site which you've got to connect into or link into. So understanding what the current environment is accurately and what you're linking into is a really important thing. So water corporations, so brownfield design, so using things like LiDAR to capture site information, so clash detection before you build, integrating the LiDAR with your Revit models or SolidWorks or 3D. Then the other one is dashboard. So how do you actually start construction sites? How do you know what's going on? Now, every truck on a site, a civil site now, generally has a GPS on it, so you can tell where it is. So, as an example, on level crossing removal project in Victoria, so we're tracking not only the weather on site, who comes onto site, we're in a real-time dashboard, but we also know where every vehicle is, whether it's stuff for maintenance, what's the utilisation of that vehicle, do we have enough, and starting to look at how we use that data to optimise. If we put one more truck, that excavator is going to be better used. And it's those little things which are starting to add up as you start adding these on. You start driving efficiencies through that process, and you start recovering it. It's not going to be just one big thing that brings that efficiency into it. It's going to be the way we change our workflow all the way through. I'm not going to go through the defence ones, but we are working on a number of defence things. So, we kicked off 18 months ago. We were doing work before that. We also do a lot with police services on training and simulations as well. Now, if you bear with me for a sec, hopefully these are still active. Rather than actually going through and continuing with PowerPoint for a sec. So, things that we've been playing with, so how do we better use drones? So, there's a lot of condition and maintenance work that has to occur on a regular basis. On this one, so obviously a water reservoir. So, and the emphasis was with the client was we need to improve how we're doing it. Traditionally, we'd be doing this via scissor lift or crane to get around it. In relation to capturing information in relation to it. So we might only capture 10-20%. So, because traditionally you capture by exception, you take a photo of the problem, stick it in the report, hand over the report, and then you're done. With this way, we actually capture 100%. We don't need a scissor lift, we don't have any safety issues because they're not working at heights. So, and we capture the entirety of the asset. Not only that, we actually developed for a brownfield site, we've got the foundations of a digital twin. We've got an accurate 3D model that's accurate to that point in time. So, that doesn't help, does it? Thank you. That was brilliant. There we go. That helps a lot more. So if you look at that, so drone capture, photogrammetry is nothing new in relation to it. But then it's how we actually use that. So, and how we use that to improve it. So like I was saying, we get the whole site. So on that we have the photo. So wherever you click, it brings up the photo. But behind it is actually the model. So any information we link to it, and the engineers do. So from our side of it, the GHD side, we don't have to send expensive engineers on a 2, 3 hour, 4 hour drive to go and actually do it. We can send a drone pilot out and do what they can do, and the engineer has all the information, and actually better information that he does on the site. Because and we're capturing more information, so for less effort in relation to it. And on this one, so the engineers actually went around and did it first before we did it. But we're sort of getting to a level of detail where you can pick out that that's a 4% screw. The other side of this is part of our analytics and machine learning part of this as well, because the engineers go through, they make this up. So we're telling every photo that they go through and mark up what the problem is. We push that through into the machine learning. Next time around, the more we do that, the more we teach the machine learning, we start to automate that process as well. So by the time the engineer gets back or the drone pilot comes back, so he's pushed to the cloud, he's back in the office, we're starting to pick up problems before the engineer has to look. So he starts focusing on what he's going to look at, rather than going through and searching the whole thing. From a client's point of view, it's very much reduced safety, reduced time on site, but all of a sudden they've got the foundations of something which they didn't have. So the other side too, so because the way we use this, and we build this within a platform called Unity, we can do other things with it as well, which is linking information. So we use, for inside tanks, we use ROVs. So we're using that, demonstrating with that ROV to the police force in a couple of weeks, in a week's time as well. And defence will be using that for looking at the underside of the ship at times and various things. So there's integration of that data, which is what I was saying before. So all of a sudden we have one thing. So we had a model, we've integrated the photos onto that model. So now we're starting to integrate the data coming out of that model. So another information separate to it, which is the ROV. So if it's video, don't care. If it's 2D drawings, so you don't have to digitise everything you've done in the past. You can link it into what you've got going forward into the future. So it's there for the right people. Where that can go. So now this is a water treatment plant. So this was a LiDAR scan of the existing facility. It was an upgrade project. So it's actually taking what was there and upgrading it. So traditional brownfield, anyone that's done a renovation of their home, they know that they can be more problematic. But the things that you can do with that, so all of a sudden we've got an accurate model within here. We can push that back to the Revit model. So we can also start bringing the Revit model. So from the client's perspective, they start getting a better understanding. They can show the team that's doing it, why they're doing it, what the implications, how do you set up the site better for the construction team. They can use this for reductions, they can do a number of different things. So they can go through and actually start, okay, let's have a look at the underground assets. So where are the underground assets in relation to it? And then you can start dropping down a bit further. So, and again, it's that integration of data, because it's where the LiDAR's in there. We know how deep the pipes are. So you can start actually going and testing it, having a look and see. So if you've got a tablet version of this, so you're sitting on site and then all of a sudden you're starting to go, okay, I know that pipe's there, okay, it's 2 metres down. Let's start and helping that construction side of things or maintenance of it in the future as well. So how do we balance that off? We can do other things. That's just we can change it so that it's cloudy, we can make it rain, so we can make it whatever you want. So I do have a team which is full of gamers and programmers, so every now and then, I think most models that I've seen the first time has a delay in them. So, because one of the guys loves putting it in. So we're just upgrading the Queensland Police training at the moment, so they're having great fun scanning in all the police officers in all their kit. But one of their jobs is to actually bring in bad guys into it as well, so some of the bad guys look quite interesting. The other things that you can do is, because the engineering drawings behind this, you can go through and do cross sections. You've got the full measurements as well, but this is not a specialised system. It's a Unity-based system that can run on anyone's computer, and we've drawn this out of the initial work that we've done, which was done out of the maintenance budget, so it's not an additional cost, it's you're finding extra benefit on top of what you've already got. So, and money that you're already expending in relation to it. And you're using that to then benefit the next round of design and upgrades associated with infrastructure. You can also, for the construction side of it, so you can click on elements and actually go set up condition assessments. So one of the problems is getting real-time data and as constructors on a construction site. So go around with a tablet, using the model, click on the element, the slab that's just been built. So has that been built? Yes. Is it to the specifications required? Here's the inspection test procedure, blah, 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 blah. So take photos, so you've all got photos as well, or video, whatever you like. Hit complete, automatically goes back to the cloud and links into the model. So all of a sudden you've got not just a model of what you're planning, you start to build it in real time as it gets built day by day. So the other side of it is maintenance and ongoing maintenance. So rather than sending someone out with a drone, operators out there, oh, this is a problem, do the inspection, capture it, it locks into the model. So you've got that day and time, here's another issue which wasn't picked up in the last scan. So they're just different ways of how we actually apply this. So, and how do we actually drive benefits? Whether they're all there in relation to it or not, and whether they all continue. And realistically, things we're doing now won't be around in 5 years because we'll be doing it very differently to what we're doing now. So it's a continual change process. And like Chris mentioned, so the technology coming through is speeding up and up and up. I tend to buy VR goggles every 12 months because it's the ones 12 months ago were just rubbish, and then the ones that I'm getting now are really great, which I know in 12 months' time is going to be rubbish and we'll go through that cycle again. Stakeholder side in relation to it, so rather than stakeholder teams actually going in and getting, oh, I need another high quality image off this, da 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 da. So you can use it and actually go through, well, okay, I want a photo. So there's my photo, and I send that off to the marketing department, and they put it on the pamphlet or the media brochure or whatever it is. Or you can go through and set up bookmarks and actually record so you can set them up where you want to be. So it's giving the power to people who at the moment have to go and ask other people for help. So it's creating, trying to look at how we drive efficiencies, and it is across the whole cycle of what GHD gets involved in. And trying to push it through into where it counts in relation to it. And a lot of what we do is focused on operating maintenance. So we do a lot of asset management work, so within defence and others. But at the moment, they've probably got the least amount of information. At the same time, some of the guys in asset management are the ones that really don't want technology as well. So, but it's part of what we've got coming, which is there's a massive culture change coming at us. If we're not focusing on what cybersecurity got brought up before, which is a massive part of what we've got to start dealing with, because these are online systems. So most of the conferences and talks and digital twin talks that I go to, cybersecurity is the least spoken about because they get caught up with the gadgets and the tools and what it can do. The other side of what we're looking at is how do we actually get teams better working together? We can't get a whole team for the size of projects that we're doing in one spot. So it's just an impossibility these days, even within GHD. So for a single major project, you'll have someone from every office in Australia almost actually getting involved. A lot of the time we'll have our New Zealand, North American, European counterparts actually working into it as well. So how do you actually deal with that within an engineering sense? From our point of view, so there's a couple of things we want to do. In that previous one and this one, we track the analytics of how our guys use it, what they're looking at, what they're doing. This system is a multi-user system, so we know who's logged in there, so you can have meetings within there. I can put 1,000 people in this space. So, and the nickname within the group for this one is it's Fortnite for engineers, effectively. So it's got the same accuracy. The previous model of the water treatment plant we can push through into this space. At the same time, we're doing incident command team training within this for Queensland Police. So, and talking to Defence Army cadets around using this as a virtual classroom. Because all of a sudden with disparate workforces, so we can have everyone getting the same level of training, same understanding, irrespective of where they are, we don't care. Same works for design teams. Electrical engineers, they aren't good at talking to people at any rate, so you've got civil engineers that don't like talking to mechanical engineers, and then you've got the architects, we sit over in this group over here as well, so, and getting them to coordinate, actually talk on multidisciplinary projects is really important. And like I said, it's from our point of view, we don't care what information, it's agnostic as to the different software. So having things like videos and photogrammetry models in different spaces, PowerPoint presentations built into this space. So, or like I was mentioning before, so collecting information on site which reports back into a model sitting and floating on the table here that the project manager in wherever can actually stop and see on a daily basis. What's the percentage complete? What have we actually done? Is there safety factors associated, and locked down to the elements? So it links back in with the asset management system as well, and the asset hierarchy of what the actual infrastructure you're dealing with is. And then you can actually go through, so that space is a virtual classroom or meeting room, whatever you want to use it for. So, but this is Sydney Central Station. It is the entirety of a Revit model. Different layer systems, again, turn on and off. There's tool functions, so for people that want to be in virtual reality, and this can be in, so yeah, I don't care whether you're in virtual reality, you're on a good laptop or a fairly average laptop or a Surface Pro. So you can, as long as you've got a fairly average 4G connection, you can collaborate within this space. And you can actually have a conversation with each other, talk through this space, and you can deal with it from a team basis. Keeping the accuracy of how this works through the different things. So the accuracy is actually the same as what it is within a Revit or Plan 3D or whatever software you're using. So that way you can actually go and do some markups within the space as well, which you can push back to the design model. So you can go through and actually comment in relation to it. You can mark it up. I can go through and drop two ways of doing comments. And like you see, it actually locks back to the XYZ within the model. If you're in virtual reality, you can use leave a voice comment. And then all of a sudden, that's locked to that part, and I can push that back to the design engineers. So you can do your integrated approach from the high-level design leads, so the electrical engineers, civils, and everything else. But I can tell you, have they been in there? What have they been looking at? Have they been looking at the clashes within that model? You can go and start doing, so if you want to look at what's behind it, so you can start going and pulling out the different sections, so you can look at what's behind a wall and what should be there. And you can be Surface Pro on side on the construction side too as well. That one's a great one. If people start wandering off, they can wander where they want. They're in control of where they're standing at a point in time. So if I hit that, they all come back together. So it's particularly when they're a long way away, it's great. So it throws them off. Again, photos, so you can go through and do that. But then you can go through, completely strip out the structure, and so it gives you a bit of a context to how large this thing is. So, and this is where you start actually linking in, so between the last one and this one, the attribute data. So, because attribute data, so it might be related to design, relevant to construction, or at the back end of it, operate and maintain. Operate and maintain, it doesn't need to know the design points or the construction points. So, but they need to know what they need to know to do their job at that point in time. So it might be in relation to a slab, it might actually be the photo from construction of the rear that was done at the time. Or it might be the last inspection done, it might be the work orders relevant to where I am in that part of the facility at that point in time. It depends on what it is and who's using it, but there's value in relation to how do we continue this through the process? How do we drive the value? Because there's a bucket load of money being spent on design across all the engineering, the SMEs in relation to it. So there's a lot of money being paid on construction. How does the end client get the value longer term? But also, how do you make sure that of that large expenditure that we're putting out there, where rather than being behind the eight ball and actually reducing inefficiency across the construction industry, we're bringing that up and we're starting to get up there with the banks of the automotive industry and those sorts of places about transforming what our industry is, and how we conduct our industry and actually take it forward, because that is what the next generation is about. So that they need to have these efficiencies, they need to drive it through. We cannot get enough engineers. So in the future, so how do we better use the technology to actually support that function so we can keep them growing? Now from GHD's point of view, so it is very much a collaborative approach. It was mentioned before, but we cannot do what we're doing with our partners. We cannot do it without collaboration with other industries. And like I mentioned, to actually get the learnings out of this, we need universities working on these projects to actually start tracking, okay, what is the efficiencies, where were the down points, and publishing that so we can all learn from it as well. So, because it is very much, we are entering a new space, there is a transformation in relation to it. I'll get there in the end. And look, there's a few more slides in here, so which come through the slide pack, but just a bit of summary of some of the things I've shown you. So, but all these things that we're using, we're also using you on defence projects. So, whether it's the Rangers project in relation to it, whether it's ASMTI, and how do we use that to have a connected side as well? So, because it's the integration of the different data to actually drive that change. And I can't emphasise enough the culture change and managing that culture change. If we thought it was important before, it's even important now, because it's otherwise we will stumble until we actually start driving that side of it correctly. So to create that change and maintain it as well. So and help the older guys who don't like technology. So there's a way of bringing them through too. That's it.
Thanks, Ryan. I'd like to draw a few dots together, sort of just going at it a little bit backwards, in the sense that we've heard from Chris first, who's going to be building a suite of new frigates down at the Surface Shipbuilding Yard at the Australian Submarine, the old Australian Submarine Corporation precinct as we've known it here from South Australia. It's no longer just the Australian Submarine Corporation. The federal government's actually broken the corporate structure up a little bit. They've got ASC Proprietary Limited at the top as the parent. They've broken it down into 3 sibling companies. ANI, which is the owner of all of the assets out at Osborne. Chris is going to be one of the new tenants. BAE is acquiring the Surface Shipbuilding company